Hello everybody, this is the Crypt Keeper here, and I'm going to be casting a 2 versus 2 in the Bronze League. This is my first 2 versus 2 in the Bronze League after the placement matchups. So I'm going to be spawning with my teammate Ran Paga, who's playing out of Central America. We're both Terran, we're both in the lower right, and in the upper left we have Your Doom playing as the blue Terran, and Candyman playing as the red Terran. So yes, this is a all Terran 2 versus 2, as Your Doom very kindly points out. And this is in the Bronze League. So I've went through all my placement matchups. Those actually didn't go too well for me because I'm playing as Terran, and I've got so many of those matchups that were Protoss, 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 and I was the only Terran. So it's nice to see an all Terran 2 versus 2, and it's nice that it's my first Bronze League 2 versus 2. So I open up with your standard depot, and I get my first barracks and start pumping out Marines just to protect the base from any air attack that might come in. Now Ranpaga is going very heavy on the barracks. He's opening with a triple barracks, triple supply depot, and actually a few times through the matchup encourages me, I'll say, to hurry up and get my units out there just so we're not falling behind. But I don't think that my teammate knew it at the time that we were ahead the whole game, so that's good. Looks like Candyman is below on harvesters. Must be a new player because not very many harvesters there for Candyman early on. But they are actually collaborating very well and walling off their base up there in the top left. Now, I super fast mode through a lot of the first part of this game because it was just us stacking up our forces, and yeah. There you can see Rampaga encouraging me to hurry up and make units. Although I did know that he was going for a lot of heavy ground units early on, I decided to tech up to higher level battle cruisers and then get the necessary ship upgrades for those. So I've got my orbital command down, that just finished, and my first factory is pumping out a siege tank. At this point we both have orbital commands, but the two opponents of ours, they don't even have their orbital command yet. So this is kind of a one-sided battle, I would have to say. There you can see Rampaga getting his first starport there and pumping out a Raven? Yeah, pumping out a Raven. So there's a lots of unit composition here in this all Terran matchup. This Terran matchup. Did I mention Terran? Oh yeah, I did. So there you can see that they've joined forces on their wall off on their base, but Rampaga's ground army alone is bigger than both our opponents' ground army put together at this point. And I see that, and at this point I'm going for a tank drop. That's my first medevac. It just finished. So I'm heading out across the field. Hopefully there's no missile turrets that can take out my medevac before it gets to the opponent's mineral line. But this attack really set back our opponents. They were down on SCVs to begin with, but after this it was no contest. They had very little SCVs after this attack. So here we go, my dropship's going down. I micro it perfectly. Micro, macro, I don't know if I said that right. Whatever, but there we go. Quickly going into siege mode, and these SCVs are not ready for it at all. I am gonna count the kills here. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 SCV kills before his reinforcements were able to arrive and take out my siege tanks because they were all piled up at the front door. So if you're starting off as Terran, definitely do that tank drop off at the mineral line. I think you'll find that it's easier to do that than wait for cloaked Banshee, because researching that cloak does take a long time. So that is a very strong alternative Now my teammate is finally getting his second expansion going. I have 2 expansions myself at this point, and I'm heading out with the same medivac for another tank drop-off. If this player was smart, he would have kept his reinforcements there. But here I go at the second tank drop-off. 2 siege tanks coming down. Not going into siege mode quite as quickly as I wanted, but they do get there and take out most of these SCVs. However, these Marauders are there to take out my siege tanks quite quickly, so a little bit better reacting to my tank drop-off there. Didn't get quite as much damage as the first one. If we look at the income tab, myself and my teammate are at 700 and 800 minerals, while the Doom and Candyman are at 200 and 400, and we're 30 SCVs over 19 at this point. So really, I have to get my tech finished and all my starports ready so I can push out and we can push out together. At this point, my opponent, yeah, so he's really antsy to get out and start attacking, although I don't think he knows it at this point, but his entire army could probably take out both our opponents. He could probably do that himself. So there we see my final starport going down. I don't get a tech lab on it as quick as I hoped, but I do have my final starport ready, so I'm ready to start pumping out battle cruisers. There you see the first two arriving. I'm also researching the attack and armor upgrades for the battle cruisers, and the Doom was smart, and he has Vikings and all his forces at his mineral line there to prevent from another drop-off, but I'm actually going to the other side of the base, and I'm going to do a drop-off there because I know that his reinforcements are going to be there. So I sneakily micro around and am able to pull off the siege tank drop on the other side of the base. And I'm going for a supply block here, but luckily, I'm not sure if it was Candyman or the Doom that actually responded to this pretty fast, so my siege tanks don't actually do a lot of damage on this drop. As you can see, his Marines and Marauders come charging in, and I barely get a shot off on any of these. I think I might kill 1 or 2 Marauders. That's about it. So at this point, I decide to stop with the tank drops and actually stop producing tanks altogether, just so I can put all my minerals into producing battle cruisers, because I know at this point my teammate has such a large army that we need to push out as soon as my battle cruisers are ready. And I wanted about 6 or 8 of them before we started to push out. If we look at the income tab, no, this is the army tab. 141 and 100 supply for myself, and our 2 opponents actually have only 50 supply each. So more than double the army size for every unit of our opponents at this point, and I speed up the production of my battle cruisers right here and cut right to the chase of the initial battle, because I knew that my tank drops did a lot economical damage earlier on, so I knew we were way ahead. So at this point, I just wanted as many battle cruisers as I can. There you can see the opponent's comsatting on our base, but it is far, far too late for that. Just love these Bronze Legal matchups. So there I am, finally pushing out with my forces of battle cruisers. I think I originally wanted to push out with my tanks, but those wouldn't have been effective enough. I have a 1 attack, 1 armor upgrade researched, and the second attack upgrade is actually almost done at this very moment. So if I go back over to my battle cruisers, we can see the initial battle here. I go right for his supply depots just to get that supply block, and there's so many supply depots, there's no way that you could really recover from a supply block this big. So I had done all my earlier damage with the tanks. I knew that he had not very many SCVs, so I decided to go for the supply depots themselves. And that 2 attack upgrade is finishing within a few seconds. And mass marines against battle cruisers with 2 attack upgrade. Not a very smart move, although my opponent really didn't have much else of a choice at this point. There you can see a few Vikings in the back getting off some shots, but are still no match. And at this point, my opponent is marching out with his army. I think he's at 180 or something like supply count like that. And he's marching right up to the front door of the opponents, and oh my god, the opponents are just forced to lay there and take in all this damage. That's what she said, ladies and gentlemen, but this is a massacre. We have a fully almost 200 supply army going on about a 50 supply army. Very one-sided. And there's about 6 or 7 marauders here, and they're not going to last long as they get focus fire down within seconds. And the rest of this matchup is just destruction. We got my 8 or 9 battle cruisers in the field. We have an entire 200 army of marines and marauders with that first attack upgrade. And there we go. That's the end of the game. You can see your Doom has not rebuilt his base and is just left vulnerable. And the end of the game is just a mess of burning barracks and falling supply depots. So hey, thanks for watching this complete massacre of a 2 versus 2 all Terran team deathmatch. And that's all. This is the Crypt Keeper saying, see you guys later.